Hi everybody, this is going to be an overview of Chapter 25. First off, welcome to my new office. It is spacious, yet it has no windows. It has one-way mirrors as it was an observation room for childhood development at one point, and has been recently decorated by my 6-year-old, so that's why you see all these nice little drawings behind me. So this is going to be an overview of Chapter 25, Urinary System, and I'm just going to walk you through the major points of the chapter. So, digested food, when you eat it and digest it, provides the raw materials for metabolism. One major waste product is urea, and that's made in the liver from excess amino acids. Since urea and other metabolic wastes can poison the body, it's essential that they be efficiently and expeditiously eliminated. So our kidneys perform a crucial part of this task by continuously filtering the blood. In addition to removing waste, they can get rid of excess water. They can extract excess water and salts from the blood to ensure that the volume and concentration of our blood remain constant. The mix of waste and water eventually form urine, which the kidneys then pass on for disposal. And they go out the ureters and down, and they're stored in the urinary bladder and eventually out the urethra. So the kidney's major functions are getting rid of toxins like urea, metabolic wastes, and excess ions. If we have too much potassium, it's not good for our cells. And if we have too much sodium, it's not good for our cells. We need to maintain the right balance of those ions. And they're also important in regulating blood volume, chemical composition of the blood, and pH of the blood. Gluconeogenesis is forming new glucose from other products when glucose is not coming from the diet. So if you're starving, the kidneys can synthesize new glucose for quick energy sources. And then the kidneys also produce two hormones, renin and erythropoietin. We remember these from Chapter 16, the endocrinology chapter. Erythropoietin is involved in the stimulation and regulation of red blood cell production, and renin is a hormone that causes a cascade of events that helps to maintain blood volume and blood pressure. The kidney also turns the precursor form of vitamin D that your skin produces into the active vitamin D that is necessary for a lot of cellular functions and also for taking calcium in across the gut. So kidneys are retroperitoneal. That means they're behind the peritoneum, back against the body wall, and they have a convex lateral surface and a concave medial surface. The convex part, little C shape, is where the renal hilum is, and that leads to the renal sinus. The ureters and renal blood vessels and lymphatics and nerves, all that stuff enters and exits at the renal hilum. So here this is showing you that the kidneys are retroperitoneal. They're behind the peritoneal cavity, and we've got the layers of supportive tissue around the kidneys. We've got their renal fascia. This is right here and here as well. This is dense fibrous connective tissue that anchors the kidney in place, and we've got a perirenal fat capsule. That's this yellow stuff here, and that protects the kidneys. So if you're punched in the back or something, or you fall, it provides a nice fatty cushion. And then we have the kidneys are surrounded by a fibrous capsule. And oops, I lost my pointer. Fibrous capsule right here. And that is one thing that helps to prevent a spread of infection to the kidney, and it separates it from the surrounding tissues. So in gross anatomy, we've got the renal cortex, this layer like so, the renal medulla, that's made up of these cone-shaped pyramids here, and the renal medulla also consists of these renal columns. A lobe is a medullary pyramid and its surrounding cortical tissue. So this pyramid and the cortical tissue. So this is a lobe right here. The papilla is the tip of the pyramid right here, and these pyramids are actually made up of some of the lines you can see are lots and lots of collecting ducts, and they eventually join up and form one papillary duct, and then the papillary duct releases urine into the minor calyx, and then it flows into the major calyx right here, the renal sinus and the renal pelvis, this whole area with the calyces, and the pelvis is sometimes referred to as the renal sinus. Here's the renal pelvis, which is this funnel-shaped tube within the renal sinus. And we already said this, the major calyces collect the urine from the minor calyces and empty into the pelvis, renal pelvis, and then urine flows from the pelvis to the ureter. So the kidneys are highly vascularized. They have that big renal artery, and the renal artery delivers a lot of blood to the kidney, almost a quarter of cardiac output to the kidneys each minute. And arterial flow and venous flow out of the kidney have a similar path. And then nerve supply also enters in at the hilum or the hilus, and it's via sympathetic fibers from a nervous structure called the renal plexus, and it can help to the nervous supply can help to regulate renal blood flow by adjusting arterial diameter at the nephron. So here's how blood flow at the kidney works. We've got the aorta, which is not shown here, and then we've got the renal artery, and the renal artery then branches into the segmental arteries, then the interlobar arteries. The interlobar arteries travel up those renal columns, and then splits into the arcuate arteries and into the here's the arcuate arteries, and then into the cortical radiate artery right here that spreads out into the cortex, and then it gets microscopic, so we can't see it in this picture. Gets down to the size of the nephron, the afferent arteriole, then goes becomes the glomerulus, and then the efferent arteriole, the peritubular capillaries and vasa recta. These are capillaries that surround the nephron, and then we've got the cortical radiate vein, the arcuate vein, the interlobar vein, and then out to the renal vein, which ends up in the inferior, ends up dumping its blood supply into the inferior vena cava.